1 квітня працює.
It's April 1st, Ukraine Media Center confirms starts its operation. My name is Svetlana Chaparenko, and now we will be talking about the operational situation in the south of Ukraine and in the Black Sea. Joining us online is Natalia Humeniuk, head of the United Coordinating Press Center of Security and Defense Forces of the south of Ukraine. Ms. Natalia, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. So, Ms. Natalia, what is the situation for the time being in the Black Sea basin? What's the situation with the enemy vessels there? Well, the situation in the sea is being traced by the Navy very thoroughly. What we observe in our area of responsibility is the enemy vessels that are significantly pressed to the southern part of the equator of the Black Sea. They don't express any significant activity, but we understand that the threat, including the missile threat, has not gone anywhere because the enemy keeps the readiness of missile carriers. Meanwhile, they are staying at their bases and they are not even used for the battle duty. It was only twice that we documented that fact within the last time. In the eve of the massive combined missile and drone strikes, this is when the enemy brought their carriers to the equator of the Black Sea to distract the attention of the air defense forces, because a missile carrier on duty results in the increased attention to the equator, because identifying the submarines is difficult. The missiles are being launched and they fly on a very low altitude from the water, which makes them less visible to the radars, and right before the strike they get proper altitude at which they can be identified, which leaves us little time for reaction. But for the time being, all of the missile carriers are at their bases. The base itself, according to the intelligence, to the British intelligence, is being reinforced. The majority of time, the vessels are staying at their bases, and they observe the situation in the Black Sea from their bases using the radars. At the same time, the enemy increased the activity of unmanned aerial reconnaissance vehicles. Well, you've mentioned that the enemy started hiding their ships, based on the information from the British intelligence, being afraid of Ukrainian drones attacks, but others still, the enemy vessels remaining in the area where the Ukrainian sea drones could reach them. Yes, they are still staying in that area, but we need to plan the battle work in a way that it yields the best results, because we understand that they will be defending. They have all capabilities to do that. They have air defense capabilities. They try to install additional fences that are intended to protect them against the sea drones. We were observing them going out on a short-term patrolling in the Black Sea to control the existence of those fences that they've installed at the entrance to the bay, and now they reinforce them with concrete structures. Lately, the enemy is trying to find the new ways to make ways around the air defense forces. So how did the tactics of the strikes has changed? Well, there was no critical changes to the tactics. The main accent is the other attempts to exhaust the air defense systems. This is why the enemy uses the massive strikes using combined weapons, just like the one that we were witnessing during the last time, when we had a couple of waves of drones that were going through complicated routes to identify the positions of our defense forces, to confuse them. And at the same time that I've mentioned, there was a missile carrier brought on duty in the Black Sea basin to distract the attention of the air defense forces that focus on the sea. Also, to exhaust us, they use the time of the attacks. We'll remember that it happens right before the sunrise, when it's difficult to focus because the air defense systems, they are being managed by the people, and in the night the human body, the human organism is exhausted. This is why they use the attacks during the late hour. So all of their tactics is intended to exhaust the air defense systems, the population of Ukraine, and the potential of Ukraine as a country that is capable of covering its needs. I mean, they target the industrial facilities, energy infrastructure facilities. They do it all to exhaust us. And how did the loss of a number of fixed-wing aircraft influence the capabilities of the enemy? Well, their intelligence has become more complicated. This is why they use more unmanned aerial reconnaissance vehicles, specifically in our area of responsibility from Zaporizhia to Odessa regions. We observe around 200 reconnaissance UAVs on a daily basis that work from the equator of the Black Sea. They are being launched from the forward edge of the battle area, trying to collect information about the regions in the depth, in the rear of, but there they are being prevented by our electronic countermeasures and air defense forces. Basically, every day you can see on our Telegram channels the reports about a number of reconnaissance UAVs being shot. Also, it resulted in less intensity of the enemy aviation in Kherson region. So after the loss of the number of their aircraft, they focus more on using tactical aviation from the equator of the Black Sea in terms of using the missile strikes. So they use electronic countermeasures missiles rather than guided aviation bombs. But let's not be complacent. Let's continue observing their activity, and if at least once a week they remind the Kherson area of presence of guided aviation bombs in their reserves, it only tells us that they're looking for the new launch sites. And in Zaporizhia region and in the Donetsk region, where our area of responsibility still spreads, I mean the southern part of Donetsk region and southeastern part of the Donetsk region is where the enemy tries using the guided aviation bombs to support their storm teams. Do you observe the occupiers continuing to steal Ukrainian products through Crimea and transporting it through Crimea, Mariupol, and other directions? Well, it's probably not the responsibility of the military to track such processes, but the existence of navigation corridors is going on with the support of the armed forces of Ukraine, and even under conditions of absence of guarantees from foreign partners, the foreign freight companies, they trust us, and even under the difficult conditions of permanent air raid alerts and the scale, the capacity of energy infrastructure facilities that enemy tries to target, still the port infrastructure continues operating under the active pace, and the scale of transportation basically is currently at the level of the pre-war time, pre-full-scale invasion time. Do we have any questions on the floor, dear colleagues? Marina Kožuchar, Ukr informed. Today, the spokesperson of the Air Force, Yevlash, mentioned that Russia started using the 1.5 tons guided aviation bombs. Is the situation the same in the southern region? And another question is regarding the Snake Island. Recently, there was information that Russians got more activated in the area of the Snake Island. So what is the situation over there for the time being? Thank you for your question. Talking about 1.5 ton guided aviation bombs in our area of responsibility. We have not documented cases of their launch. We're mostly talking in our area about half-ton guided aviation bombs and 250 kilogram guided aviation bombs in Zaporizhia region, but not other than that. But we understand that the enemy's potential in this area may be increased because the defense industrial complex has not started on their end, unfortunately. Miss Natalia, we apologize for a second. We stopped hearing you. Miss Natalia, are you hearing us? Natalia, our sound is off. I apologize for the technical issues. We're trying to fix them. Miss Natalia, are you hearing us? Yes, I'm hearing you now. We apologize for technical issues. Just if you could kindly repeat the second half of your answer, because this is where the sound got lost. So talking about the Snake Island, here we understand that when the enemy cannot control the northwestern part of the Black Sea basin with their vessels, they try to use the aviation to exercise some pressure from time to time. They try to demonstrate advantage, at least in the air, and there were cases when the tactical aviation fixed wing aircraft were used for reconnaissance activities, and also they were trying to launch guided missiles that lost their battle capacity over the equator of the Black Sea, but still the fact of the attempts of terrorizing that region, I think, witnesses about the attempts of destabilize the operations of the sea corridor. Ms. Natalia, thank you very much for your answers. Let me remind you, we were talking about the operational situation in the south of Ukraine and Black Sea Basin. Ukraine Media Center Ukrinform will continue its operation at 1300. We'll talk about the spring sowing campaign and consequences of border blockade. Stay tuned.